All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday afternoon. 49ers update for you. They've made some roster moves ahead of this game against the Seattle Seahawks with Ray McCloud, the team's leading return man, heading to injured reserve. So, link is in the description. You could take a look at the 49ers Seahawks prediction. I'll have the prediction for this game at the end of this video, but as always, you should subscribe. Check it out. All the writing, all the 49ers updates are there, and they're here as well because we're talking about Ray McCloud, the injured reserve, Chris Conley, the veteran wide receiver, up to the 53-man roster to replace him. So the 49ers, they have the number 27 ranked special teams unit in the league. It is really the only weakness of this team. And now they've lost their leading return man on both punt and kick returns. Now, they didn't have Ray last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. So Ronnie Bell, the rookie, was the punt returner. He muffed one, but kicked it out of bounds. And Deebo Samuel was the kick returner. We'll see if the 49ers continue with that setup moving forward. But Deebo, he's a player that you probably don't want to expose to too many kick returns, although I do think he is good at it. And Ronnie Bell, he's got to prove that he's dependable back there. The 49ers can also turn to Kyle Juszczyk, of all people, to field punts. He's worked on that in practice. He's done it in warm-ups as the backup for the 49ers. He actually is a trusted return man. He wouldn't be somebody that's explosive after fielding the punt, but when you're as good as the 49ers are, sometimes you just say, let's make sure we don't muff it. And they trust Kyle Juszczyk with the process of actually catching punts, which is I think very obviously a very specialized, difficult skill. Not everybody can field punts. I mean, it's very, very tough to sit back there, gauge the flight of the ball. You have padding on too, so it's harder to receive. You can't catch it with your hands. You have to bring it in to your body. You have to make sure that you're able to do that without dropping it in the midst of defenders who are flying in around you. You can get lit up right away unless it's a fair catch situation each time. But we've seen fair catches get muffed as well. So the 49ers have to make sure that they don't let this McCloud injury too severely hurt their special teams unit. They've already lost George Odom, who's the leading tackler in the NFL on special teams over the past 2 years. He might be back by late January, but that would only be if the 49ers make it all the way to the NFC Championship game or beyond. And right now they're going to be missing Ray McCloud for at least 4 weeks. Chris Conley up to the 53 from IR. We're going to take a look at that as well as the practice squad elevations. These are just the temporary elevations to expand the roster to 48 men against the Seattle Seahawks. That obviously is part of the new rules in the NFL. Not so new anymore. A couple years ago, they started allowing teams to flex players up from the practice squad on game day. So why don't we take a look at the roster and you can understand and visualize exactly what the 49ers are doing with these moves. First, and I'm going to update this in real time for everybody. So first, Ray McCloud to injured reserve. So as of right now, I have Ray McCloud listed in pink here. That means that he was injured, didn't play last week, but not on IR. So the 53-man roster is the left side, the gold side of this. We can go ahead and move Ray over to the IR list on the very right, alongside Danny Gray, who is part of this whole mix as well. At least an interesting note about him and the fact that Chris Conley is a player who the 49ers trust more than Danny Gray, because Conley is the player the 49ers have taken off the practice squad right here and promoted to the 53-man roster to take McCloud's spot. So I'm moving Chris Conley over. That will open up a practice squad spot for the 49ers. They have 15 filled now. They're filled with the 53-man roster, with Chris Conley taking up the 53rd spot. Now, Danny Gray is on IR, just like Ray McCloud, but Danny Gray has been healthy for a while. So obviously the 49ers believe that Chris Conley is above Danny Gray on the pecking order. We'll see if the 49ers do something with Danny Gray, activate him next week. But right now, I think that they're definitely more comfortable bringing Chris Conley up. You would have to do the same thing that you did with Ty Davis-Price to move into the practice squad. You'd have to cut Danny Gray first. You'd have to activate him from IR, cut him, and then re-sign him to the practice squad to take that open spot. I don't know what the rest of the league thinks of Danny Gray. the 49ers might not be happy with some of the details that go into his game, which include blocking. Obviously, he is a speedster. So I don't know if there would be a demand for Danny Gray that there wasn't for Ty Davis Price around the rest of the league if the 49ers waived him. But the notable scenario here and the notable occurrence here is that the 49ers have chosen Chris Conley over Danny Gray for the 53. So Gray remains on IR even though he's healthy. And they've also elevated Jeremy McNichols from the practice squad instead of Ty Davis Price. Speaking of Ty Davis Price. So I always shade the temporary elevations on a weekly basis in green. I will go ahead and do so again. We have McNichols over here in green, obviously ahead of Ty Davis Price. And, maybe that means that we should put McNichols ahead of Ty Davis Price on the depth chart, because that is indeed how the 49ers are playing this. So there we go. Got to fix the little formatting here. Those of you who are Excel nerds are going to get mad at me for not pasting the right way. I really don't care. I just want to get this done so that the roster is up to date for you. So the 49ers running back pecking order goes McCaffrey, Mitchell, Elijah Mitchell, who is doubtful for this game with a knee injury, Jordan Mason, Jeremy McNichols, and then bringing up the rear now officially, Ty Davis Price with Jeremy McNichols ahead of them. And then the receiver pecking order, obviously you have the top of the room and Ayuk and Samuel and Juwan Jennings. Ronnie Bell, returner for the 49ers now in Ray McCloud's place. Conley is the fifth receiver on the 53-man. Willie Snead has gotten practice squad call-up time for the 49ers this year. I believe Tay Martin has as well. But Danny Gray out here in exile, or the doghouse, if you want to put it and term it that way. This is what the doghouse actually looks like. People a couple years ago were trying to say that Brandon Ayuk was in the doghouse, even though his snap count didn't go down. Brandon Ayuk just wasn't used offensively. I mean, this is the doghouse when you're stashed on IR, even though you're healthy and have no, clear path of seeing the football field. That's where Danny Gray is right now. So what's the kick and punt returner plan with Ray McCloud out? Well, we saw at least one iteration of it last week that featured the 49ers turning to Ronnie Bell as their punt returner and Deebo Samuel as their kick returner. And I believe Deebo Samuel volunteered himself for that job. He actually returned kicks in 2021 when the 49ers were really, really thin on special teams. That year, they actually ranked number 26 on special teams. So now they're number 27, and it seems to be that whenever the 49ers rank really lowly on special teams, Deebo Samuel has to try to save the day by returning kicks. We'll see if they continue doing that, even against opponents that obviously aren't nearly as good as them. The Seattle Seahawks are a team that's now a 13.5-point underdog against the 49ers because Geno Smith might not play. He has a groin injury. He's highly questionable for this game. But I will say that the Seahawks have a good special teams unit. They're top 5 in special teams. And meanwhile, the 49ers are down at number 27. So I don't think you can fall asleep at the switch in this phase of the game against Seattle, which means that maybe they put Deebo Samuel back there as a kick returner again. Ronnie Bell then has to demonstrate his reliability as a punt returner. You can't be muffing it and kicking it out of bounds once a game as he did in Philadelphia. So we'll see how the 49ers feel confidence-wise there. But this offense is so good. This defense is so good. The special teams just can't screw it up. You just can't have a Kyle Williams-like situation, right? So the 49ers are going to be adamant on, I think, raising the floor of the special teams unit here, especially while you have big names out. They're going to be focused on raising the floor. Raising the ceiling is pointless when your offense and your defense is that good. It's going to be fruitless as well if you don't have George Odom and if you don't have Ray McCloud. So you should stop thinking about the special team ceiling right now, and you just have to start thinking about the floor. Make sure this unit doesn't screw it up, and we'll see what exactly the plan is. Jeremy McNichols will obviously be in on some special teams for the 49ers, and so is Eric Harris, who has over 1,500 career special team snaps. We'll go back here and shade Eric Harris's name in green since he is a game day activation or elevation. Always get those words confused. That's too dark. We want that shade of green. There we go. So Harris and Gray will be part of the 48-man. Why did I shade Danny Gray's name? Oh, that was a big accident. Danny Gray definitely not going to be part of the 48-man roster. Danny Gray still on IR. McNichols and Harris are going to be part of the 49ers 48-man roster against Seattle. Logan Ryan, the newcomer, we'll see how quickly he can get integrated into the lineup. You don't have to activate him, though, because he's on the 53. And Chris Conley, you no longer have to activate him because he is on the 53. They had run out of activations from the practice squad for Chris Conley. It's a max of 2 per season for these players, and then you have to sign them to the 53. And that's a promotion and pay for Chris Conley because the NFL minimum is about $1 million, and he gets that obviously prorated for however long he's on the 53-man roster. But the practice squad minimum or maximum is only about $250,000. So you can expect a 4x or so increase in pay for Chris Conley. That's what the 49ers roster looks like. Mitchell is doubtful. Dwelly is going to be out for the 49ers. Armstead out for the 49ers. Burford, I believe, doubtful for the 49ers. Darrell Luter Jr., doubtful for the 49ers. So this will be an opportunity for some guys who haven't gotten as much time, haven't had as big of a role, to see a bigger one. At defensive tackle behind Armstead, Kinlaw, Gibbons, Kalia Davis, the good-looking young player. At right guard, we have seen John Feliciano already, but he'll probably fill in for Spencer Burford. Tight end will be interesting. Maybe some more time for Braden Willis, the rookie, now that Ross Dwelly is out with his high ankle sprain. And Jeremy McNichols is going to be an emergency body for the 49ers at running back with his call-up, but Jordan Mason should be the number 2 behind McCaffrey if Mitchell is indeed unable to go. He is doubtful right now. So that's the 49ers roster picture. Special teams is the worry. Special teams is what we'll keep our close eye out on, especially now that Ray McCloud has joined George Odom on injured reserve. Prediction time for Sunday. I did the video yesterday. Will the 49ers beat the Seahawks? Now we'll run the prediction. Yes, they will beat the Seahawks. The score is going to be 31-17 49ers. It was 31-13 in Seattle a couple weeks ago. I do think there will be a little slippage from the 49ers just because Seattle's going to have more rest than them, and the 49ers are coming off that emotional high against Philadelphia. They are missing Eric Armstead, and that's a big piece in the middle of the defensive line. He's been pass rushing as one of the best tackles in all of football this season. That being said, Seattle, I mean, it could be worse for them if Geno Smith really can't play or if he plays compromised, and I think he was a bit compromised last game. They didn't score a single offensive touchdown against the 49ers, right? 2 field goals for Seattle. One of them came off of the D. Eskridge return where Darrell Luter Jr. made the fantastic rundown tackle, and then there was the deflected pick 6. So I just don't see Seattle sniffing 20 points in this game. They've had big-time trouble doing that against the 49ers over the past couple of years with Geno Smith. And if it's Drew Lock instead of Geno Smith, well, it's even worse for Seattle because at least Geno's put some good football on tape here over the past couple of years. Maybe not against the 49ers, but in general. Drew Lock has yet to put good football on tape, and he is the Seahawks' backup quarterback. Meanwhile, the 49ers seem to be good for 30 every time that they go out there, maybe even 40 points in some of these games. The weather is supposed to be relatively dry, I think. I saw overcast when I checked it a couple days ago. It doesn't look like a big rainstorm is coming through the Bay Area. That could have been a potential equalizer had that been in the forecast, but it's not. And special teams is the one remaining equalizer. But the 49ers are so much better than Seattle on offense and defense that even if special teams does have a gaffe, they should be able to play through it, like they did last year when they beat Seattle 27-7 in week 2 of the season. Now, in 2021, special teams cost the 49ers. That's because the 49ers didn't have as big of a margin for error in that 2021 season. That's also when Russell Wilson was still around as the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. So long story short is the 49ers need to play offense and defense to serve in this game, and then they need to make sure that special teams and that number 27 ranking doesn't rear its ugly head. And to try to fill in some of the gaps, they moved Ray McCloud to IR. Obviously, some kind of setback for Ray McCloud. He had returned to practice on Wednesday, wasn't at practice for the rest of the week. It was a rib injury. He was in a non-contact blue jersey on Wednesday. And now they've decided to shut him down for at least 4 games. So that's essentially until the very end of the regular season. So with no McCloud and that apparent setback, the 49ers are going to have to get creative with their special teams units, just like they did last week, but for a more prolonged stretch. That was Deebo Samuel, a kick returner, and Ronnie Bell at punt returner. But Eric Harris, I mean, he could help with the bodies on special teams. Jerry McNichols can help with the bodies on special teams. The 49ers just need to make sure that they have a high floor plan while McCloud is out. The big takeaways today: McNichols over Ty Davis Price and Conley over Gray when it comes to the 49ers pecking order. Go ahead and check out the description right now. We have the article, the prediction article in there. 49ers win streak of the Seahawks, fueled by control of both sides of the passing game. So you can go ahead and click on that, subscribe to The Athletic, do all that good stuff, and I will answer a few questions. Time for the 49ers Q&A here on Saturday afternoon. I think so as well. I think 31-17 sounds about right for the 49ers over the Seahawks. Let's get it up to 60K. We were at 50K like 2 weeks ago. We're about to get to 56,000, 60,000 right around the corner at this rate. No, there is zero chance of activating Cam Latu. He went on IR before the 53-man cut down. He's ineligible for the 49ers to activate him this season. Saw the Shohei Ohtani news. He's making as much in 2 games as Brock Purdy makes in 1 season. It's like $865,000 for 2 games of Ohtani from the Dodgers versus $870,000 for a full season of Brock Purdy. Puts the 49ers bargain in greater and greater perspective, even as we compare across sports, right? $700 million contract for Shohei Ohtani. $700 million. Ronnie Bell was taking returns last week, not last year for Michigan, but last week for the 49ers. We'll see if it continues this week, even though he muffed a punt. How's Navy against Army doing? That's the only football on this day. They play that at the field that the 49ers now have ownership over. They want at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. That's where the Army-Navy game happens every single season. Dan Patrick doesn't understand Purdy. Well, tell him to have me on the show. Tweet at him. I haven't been invited on that one. I come on McAfee, but not on Dan Patrick. 10-0 Army, huh? I remember when Navy used to beat them every single season. And then Army, I think when Keenan Allen was their quarterback, what was his name? Was it Keenan? It wasn't Keenan Allen, obviously. It wasn't the Chargers receiver. Keenan, Army, QB. Keenan Reynolds. No, but he played for, am I thinking of the same guy? Played for Navy. I thought Army had a quarterback that went to the Heisman Trophy. I guess it was for Navy, Keenan Reynolds. Man, the Army-Navy fans aren't going to be happy that I mixed up the service academies for this one. I believe they helicoptered him into the Heisman Trophy ceremony in New York from Philadelphia because the Heisman Trophy ceremony is on the day of the Army-Navy game. Yeah. So Navy, Keenan Reynolds, and that was in 2015. What are you talking about? None of these analysts give Purdy the credit he deserves. I talk about Brock Purdy all the time. I feel that after week 4, I said he was the front runner for MVP, and it looked like I was right? I said if he continues this pace, he's going to be the betting favorite by the end of the season. You can't deny the type of numbers that Brock Purdy and the type of production that he was putting up. I've been on this since the start. So, yeah, I get a lot of people aren't giving him the credit he deserves. Those people don't really understand the game as well as they should, but you can't say that nobody is giving him credit because that's just not true. 2021 was interesting because special teams did step up for the 49ers against Green Bay. The Achilles heel of that team delivered in the snow at Lambeau Field. Awesome. We got a Czech person on here. Zdravím. One time we had a Czech person, I started speaking Czech. You have a Polish last name, but I guess you're over on the east side of the Czech Republic, but it's awesome. Zdravím všem v Česku. I wonder how many of you Czech fans there are on the show. I get some of these analytics and it says there's a very small percentage of from the Czech Republic, but I haven't done the math to know how many there are. This is a good idea. We should do something with Richard Sherman. Got a 38-14 49ers win prediction. All right, everybody, thank you for joining. That's been your 49ers update. We went through a lot today. Ray McCloud, the IR, Chris Conley up, Eric Harris and Jeremy McNichols up from the practice squad. Conley's got a pay raise and a 53-man roster spot, and the 49ers march on in this 2023 season. They are a heavy favorites over the Seattle Seahawks, 13.5 points now. We're not sure if it's going to be Geno Smith or Drew Lock for Seattle, but whoever it is, the 49ers should win the game tomorrow. And my prediction does reflect that. 41, maybe it is going to be 41-13, but 31-17 49ers over Seattle is my prediction. We will talk to you all very soon.